Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Give everybody a little bit of time to go ahead and log in, get themselves all situated, use the restroom, all of those fun things. Grab yourself something to drink.
Don't mind if I do.
I'm actually going to take this moment to make sure that I have plenty of juice bars. Well, it is dead tonight.
Nobody's there?
Nobody.
All right, if nobody shows up, we can just cancel it. I'm down with that.
I'm okay with that. I will hang out for at least 10 minutes.
I was asking Ian, I was saying, hey, can we cancel this till next week? I'm tired and I got so much to prepare before the trade show this weekend.
Oh, what trade show?
The Conscious Life Expo.
Where's that on at?
It's in LA.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where, but it's somewhere in
Right.
LA.
Somewhere up in LA.
Yeah.
Nice.
We did really well there last year with Ultra Life Sport stuff. I think we sold like 300 or 400 bags of mushroom in like 2 days. Like people were loving it. We were giving out free samples and stuff. So we're going to be there this year with Mushboom and Mushzoom and also with the peptides as well. So
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I'm speaking on Sunday night, actually. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Nice. What are you going to be speaking on peptides or he's talking about your mushroom?
Nootropics, adaptogens, and peptides.
Nice. Very nice.
A little bit of all of it.
We'll kind of bring it all in, you
Yeah.
know.
I'll
I
probably
have
end
to
up
pick up some of
talking
the
more about.
mushroom. I got to pick up some mushroom from you for my mom. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
telling her about it and she was very interested because, yeah, she was very interested.
It's good stuff.
I like it. That's what I told her. I said, and it has a good taste.
Better than any of the other ones on the market, and it
A
has
lot of the other ones don't
food.
taste all that great. I mean,
No.
it's just the reality. And she said she was trying to get in more of her more mushrooms and all right, we got Lauren. We got one guest tonight. We'll give it another 6 minutes to see if we have some more people join.
Hey, Lauren, I texted you earlier. If you could,
Here, I'm gonna allow her to talk.
oh, okay.
Lauren, you could unmute yourself and talk if you'd like.
Hi, Chris. I didn't get a message from you.
Oh, you didn't? Maybe I
No.
texted a different Lauren.
Uh-oh.
Was it
Uh,
about my order
yeah, I just wanted to make sure your order was right. It seemed like a strange order.
for the 9 SS31s?
Yeah. I asked Ella,
Yeah.
I'm like, did she mean to order one or two? Or did she just slip and hit nine? Or like,
No, I'm committed to the mitochondrial peptides right now. I'm going to be doing
uh-huh.
that and the MOTS-C and cycling.
No.
Yeah.
So it was right. My bank transfer is going to be coming through probably tomorrow. It takes 2 days.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I absolutely love the Motzi. I don't love the SS31 as much. I don't feel it as much. Like I kind of feel my energy dip after I stop the Motzi cycle. My energy's through the roof when I'm on a Motzi cycle.
Yeah, I wasn't doing the MOTS-C enough. I realized I was doing a very light dose, so I want to do it correctly now and do it right. And I just started NAD plus, and
Oh, nice.
I'll tell you, I feel that.
Oh yeah. How much NAD are you doing every day? I only do 50 milligrams. Um, and
I'm
I
doing the
feel it like a
spray.
lot. Oh, you're doing the spray. Okay. Or what are you doing? Like 4 or 6 sprays?
I started with two and I am feeling it. I had heart flutters the first day that I did the two sprays.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's why we started you pretty slow with the Mott's as well.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what it does. I feel things immediately when I try them. So if I do a full, I'm going to do a few cycles of Motzi and SS31. So
Yeah.
I'll report back on how that goes.
I upped my Mott's on the last cycle. I'm in a new cycle just now, as of a week ago. I'm not doing the smaller bit every day, 5 days on, 2 days off now. I'm doing like 5 milligrams 3 times a week.
Hmm.
And man, it's like I like it.
Yeah,
I feel so good like all day long. Like I just feel amazing all day long.
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not tried the matzo yet.
Oh, you got to try it. I am convinced it's one of the best peptides,
Anything
honestly.
that's going to help your mitochondria is got two thumbs up in my book.
Although I'm really, really super excited to tune up a whole course, um, and speak for like a half an hour or longer just about DSIP.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier today,
Mhm.
it's sort of a master regulator, and it's not just a sleep inducing peptide like people think it is. It has so many more things to it. And also, I was watching this doctor last night talk about the does this surgeon actually. I believe he's in Texas or New Mexico or somewhere, but
Mhm.
he's this pretty famous surgeon, and they do a lot of peptide work. And he was talking about melanotan 2. And wow, melanotan 2 has a lot of different properties as well, similar to DSIP. And there's actually some crossover there as well. It's not just a tanning peptide or like a sexual health, sexual drive peptide. It's many other things. So I'm excited to dive a little deeper into that and speak about those two as well. Maybe I'll do those two in an episode. That could be
We were
pretty cool.
talking about that for next week. Um, about DSEP and some of its cohorts. So
You know, Brooke that's on here a lot and asks a lot of questions.
yes, actually
So
asked fantastic questions.
yeah, so she is actually a pharmacist. We've been working with her, Alba and I have been working with her for a while now. She was actually in the booth with us working when we went to the A4M show, when we had
Hmm.
the peptide booth at the A4M show. And she is interested in coming on and doing an episode. So we're gonna put something together, I think, and we can have her on as a guest. And
Love to. I
she
mean,
she has a really unique point of view, um, being that her background in pharmacy
mhm.
and pharmaceutical medicine, she has a real
Um,
understanding of a lot of things that people might be on out there in the world and how those might or might not react with peptides. So
will be a
there she has
fantastic.
probably a pretty interesting, unique point of view. I think could be really cool to have her on as a guest.
I want to have as many professionals on that are in and around the industry as possible. I think it just
Absolutely.
helps us learn more, and helps our audience just deepen their knowledge.
Yeah.
So, and we were talking about maybe getting a lab, a lab scientist on things like that as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Jared about that. I think he would probably be pretty into it. Actually, he texted me um like before last week's episode, or maybe I guess
Mhm.
it was 2 weeks ago, and it was a Tuesday, and he was on his way to fly out to Vegas to be on a podcast about peptides, and he was asking me all these questions. He's like, I understand like the chemistry and all of that stuff, but he's like, you know so much more about like the pathways and the like pharmacokinetics and all that. So he's like, send me a bunch of notes on cool shit that I could talk about. So he was all excited. I was like, I'll send you all my notes from what we're going to talk about tonight, so you could.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
it makes it fun. It absolutely makes it more fun when you have the streams of consciousness all colliding together and new ideas get sparked out of it.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that's the whole
Love
idea
it.
behind this is it's not really about you or I just up here flapping our gums. It's
Not at
it's
all.
it's about like, hey, everybody has a different point of view with these things. Um, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of bro science, there's a lot of ifs, ands,
Mhm.
or whats about peptides, and everybody approaches it from a slightly different angle. And to be honest, like with the questions people ask every week, I learn something new myself.
Yeah.
You know, it's it also like just showing the different point of view, like what you and I were talking about, the
Mhm.
questions we were answering about the anti-carcinogenic or anti-tumor peptides, and you sort of went about your research in a totally different way than I did because we came
Yes.
up with quite a bit of different
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
around that. So, yeah.
Which is cool because then it sparks other conversation and deeper thought and a deeper understanding of these little molecules that can be so mighty in our body.
And I think it just broadens the knowledge pool, right? Like when you're
Absolutely.
approaching it from different angles and different ideas and ways of going about it, and also from different walks of life, from different points of view. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I tend to approach it from a training, longevity, like maintaining health point of view, but there's a lot of other people that might be in a different place in life that approach it from a different way or have a different question about things because they've been through cancer or they've been through something else, themselves. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, the one thing when I started talking with you more about peptides and you brought up BP 157 about how that's good for the gut. I have a not the best history with my intestines. They haven't always been my friend. Um, so something that is going to help that. I was,
have you been taking BPC?
yeah, yeah. I definitely have noticed a difference in my gut for sure.
Another one you might look at that's really good for the gut is KPV as well.
After our 2 weeks ago episode, we were talking about KPV, and I've definitely taken a little bit of a look at it, and I've noticed that it's paired with a couple of um, different things as well. One of them, I want to say, was it the CHK? Do I see? I think I
The
was.
GHKCU,
Yeah,
yeah, pairs well with that. And I
yeah,
mean, because you pair that with the BBC and the TB, and you've got the Clove stack, right?
yeah.
Um, Again, you kind of need to keep the copper away from the other ones. In the nasal spray form and topically, it seems to be fine
Okay.
with other things. Like the KPV and the copper don't seem to have quite the same interactions because the KPV is working on the inflammatory cytokine pathways.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a totally different area than the GHKC working on a transcriptional gene level. Um,
Mhm.
but that being said, topically KPV can be used every day. If you're injecting or even doing the nasal spray, you should only use it like 3 to 4 times a week. And you should also not cycle it for more than about 2 weeks at
Okay.
a time because it does work on those inflammatory cytokine pathways, and those cytokine pathways deal with immunosuppression, like
Mm.
overactive immune system. So what you can do is if you take KPV too much, and this is my one of my big problems with the Clo stack, because people use the Clo stack and the Glow stack just like they do BPC and TB, 5 days on, 2 days
Mhm.
off, or they just slam it every day and never go off those. And KPV is not one that you can do that with. Not if you're injecting it, certainly not, and most likely not with the nasal spray as well. I mean, the nasal sprays are in some ways hit stronger. They don't seem to signal for quite as long, but they hit stronger in the
Yeah.
beginning. Like Lauren, she mentioned she feels 2 sprays. She got a little jittery with 2 sprays of the NAD plus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only like, I think there's what, like 126 micrograms. So she's getting like maybe 250 micrograms, like a
Mhm.
quarter of a milligram
Yeah.
of NAD plus and feeling it like, and I feel 4 sprays when I do the NAD plus spray. I feel 4 to 6 sprays. I feel intensely. Like
Yeah.
it gives me a lot of energy. It feels just like when I put 50 milligrams in a syringe and do it. You know what I mean?
Now and because that has been gosh, kind of a trend that we've seen, even like with the retatrutide or
Yeah.
the triple agonist.
Especially with the
You know?
retatrutide because it's so bioavailable that it hits
Mhm.
fast. Like when you're doing the retatrutide in let's say injectable form, it's going to take 5 to 7 hours to really hit. And it actually takes to get a loading dose and a steady state dose into your body and rolling along with that could take 3 to 4 weeks of taking that weekly injection. But
Mhm.
I think that you approach that steady state dose in more like a week or a week and a half when you're doing it with regularly with the spray. And again, you're not taking 2 milligrams or 1 milligram. You're taking, what is it, like 94 micrograms per spray. So not even, you're not even a quarter of a milligram and people are feeling it and losing weight on that. So again, the nasal sprays with the Protixa Ion are kind of a different animal, and you can't look at them as being exactly like one for one
Yeah, they're not one for one.
with the dosages. That being said, I will say the Mott C nasal spray I feel is a little weak, and we're going to redo the Mott C nasal spray.
Formulate it.
We're going to reformulate it. Instead of 20 milligrams, it's going to be 50 or 60 milligrams. And
Okay.
we're actually reformulating the vials on the next lab order. Um, we're going to be doing Motzi as 50 milligrams as well. Because a lot of people now we're finding like that 3 to 5 milligrams 3 times a week. I mean, 5 milligrams 3 times a week feels awesome. Like it's amazing. And maybe people aren't going to do that right out the gate, but like maybe by the
Mhm.
second week they'll be built up to that. And that's highly effective. And you don't get any signal flattening or receptor wear by doing that. Whereas, like when you do it every day in a smaller dose, you definitely more run the risk of that signal flattening and receptor wear.
And that's specifically on the Mott C
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you're doing
that's
like a nasal
that's
spray.
that's one of the nasal sprays that I think we missed the mark on when we formulated that one. I think all the rest of them they're working really well. Like the CJC 1295 epamorelin, the tesamorelin, and those are all pretty close to the same as the injectable.
Mhm.
Um, and you're doing like 4 to 6 sprays a day on most of those, which is a far lesser amount than you would be getting on that daily dose of an injectable. But they seem to be highly effective at this point.
Which is nice to see. I mean, because I was talking with a potential, an individual. He had torn both ACLs playing
Oh,
soccer.
wow.
He used to semi-pro level soccer player, and he's now in his 40s. And hey, you want to run back another game? Sure.
Yeah.
And tore up both ACLs.
Oh, dang.
The crazy thing is that one of the doctor that he goes to recommended, hey, let's do some peptides. Let's do basically the Wolverine stack. So he had him doing that in an injectable. He was up and walking around without a cane or any type of device in 4 weeks.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Josh that joins the call sometimes here, the personal
Josh is
trainer.
here.
Oh, he's here. Oh, I can only see Ian.
Oh, they popped back down. So we have Alba, we have Josh, and we do have Lauren.
Okay. I was just gonna say, I guess we can cancel the call tonight because nobody's on.
Yeah, I was because we were just chit-chatting amongst
Yeah, I
ourselves,
was just
but
chit-chatting. I didn't know anybody was on, but
but they were slowly kind of working their way in. So I figured since we were talking about some good stuff, we might as well just keep it rolling.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a couple people. Should we roll through the questions from
Yeah, let's
last
just
week?
go
I
ahead and
think,
go. I think we found some interesting stuff about the anti-carcinogenic peptides. Um, we can make
yeah,
that kind of brief since we've already been kind of yapping about some of the other stuff.
yeah.
Priming the pump for the DCEP and the melanotan 2 discussion that we'll have either next week or the following week.
So last week we did have a couple of questions that we did not have really meaningful answers for in the moment. So we wanted to do a little bit of research. So the first question was in regards to vitamin C, D3, and K2.
Mm-hmm.
Are those directly required for NAD, or should you use those when using NAD? So the answer is no, none of those are directly required for NAD production, but some of them can indirectly influence cellular health, which affects how NAD is used. So, what does effectively directly build NAD plus is vitamin B3, which would be niacin, nicotinamide, NMR or NMN, and NR are the primary precursors of it. And then tryptophan actually helps build it in minor pathways as well, which I thought was very interesting. I had no idea about that. So the key enzymes for NAD plus is the NAMPT, which is the salvage pathway, and the NMNAT. So if you're talking about increasing NAD levels, it's important. The important nutrients are, and they also ask what nutrients should we be taking around, certain peptides as cofactors. So if you're taking NAD plus and you want to increase the levels even more and support that, niacin and nicotinamide riboside, which is NR, and NMN are all good to take along with that, with the NAD plus, or just those alone do help support your body building more NAD plus on its own. So vitamin C and NAD plus. So vitamin C is not required for NAD plus synthesis. Vitamin C reduces oxidative stress, and
Mm-hmm.
high oxidative stress increases NAD consumption via the PARP activation for DNA repair, which we talked about last week in depth, the PARP activation. So it's so less oxidative stress in turn is going to mean less NAD depletion. So indirectly, vitamin C is linked with NAD plus in the way that if you are taking it as a cofactor, it is reducing oxidative stress and your body's burning less NAD. So vitamin D3 and NAD. Vitamin D3 is not part of NAD synthesis at all, but vitamin D does influence mitochondrial function. It modulates inflammation,
Mm-hmm.
and it may affect the citrulline signaling, which depends on NAD, which we kind of went into in depth with the citrulline last week. So D3 may help optimize the cellular environment where NAD functions, but it doesn't directly increase NAD levels in any way. And then the K2, there's no known direct biological link between NAD production and K2. K2 mainly activates GLA proteins, regulates calcium metabolism, and supports cardiovascular and bone health. So there's no direct NAD pathway involvement. But big picture, one could argue that vitamin D3, it optimizes the system
Mm-hmm.
that, well, let's just say this. The big picture of NAD, it's like fuel currency, right? The B3 you could think of as the raw material that mints it, right? So vitamin B3 niacin is actually what is going to mint and make the NAD plus in the body. The vitamin C is going to reduce the damage that spends it. So if you have vitamin C as a cofactor, high levels of vitamin C, you're going to spend less of the NAD in your body in on damage stuff, right? And then the vitamin D3 optimizes the system that uses it, and the K2 is unrelated to NAD production, but you could argue that the K2 is directly linked with the D3 because you need D3, you need K2 and D3 together to fully optimize each other, right?
Correct.
So you could say that indirectly, I sort of in like a secondary or tertiary way that K2 could be related to that. So if you're designing an NAD stack, core NAD support might be NMN or NR, niacinamide, depending on the positioning, TMG or methylation support, and possibly resveratrol for the SIRT activation angle. We talked about the SIRT activation last week as well. So, vitamin C, yes, supportive. Vitamin D3, indirectly supportive. And K2 only has minimal relevance in the way that it supports the D3 that also sort of indirectly supports it. And then the second part of the question was, and is does GHKCU does that affect NAD? I think that's what they were asking as well.
Yes.
So, or no, they were talking about those vitamins with
About those vitamins, and then
GHK.
actually, the GHKCU was also referring to does collagen production affect as well?
Yes. So, GHKCU, copper tripeptide, is a naturally occurring copper binding peptide. It's involved in tissue repair and regeneration, and it's known to stimulate collagen synthesis, elastin production, glycosaminoglycans, anti-inflammatory pathways, and gene expression related to regeneration. So, vitamin C and GHKCU has a strong synergy. So the GHK signals the fibroblasts that produce collagen, and the vitamin C is required for proper collagen maturation. So the hydroxylation of proline and lysine. Without the vitamin C, the collagen produced may be very structurally weak. So if you're forcing your body to produce more collagen by taking GHKCU or even the collagen that you're producing normally in the body without a proper amount of vitamin C, the collagen that you're producing can be very structurally weak. So GHKCU tells the body to build collagen, and the vitamin C ensures that the collagen is properly formed and stable, that it's strong, right? So additionally to that, vitamin C helps maintain copper in its proper redox state. So it helps the copper not break down and oxidize. Both are antioxidants and both support wound healing. They're very complementary. And then vitamin D3 and GHKCU, there's no direct support, but indirectly, the vitamin D3 regulates immune function, modulates inflammation, and supports tissue repair environments. And it influences the keratinocyte and fibroblast behavior. So they work in parallel pathways, but not like directly with each other. So the D3 is not mechanistically required for the GHKCU to work properly and build collagen like the vitamin C is. So the K2 and the GHKCU has a minimal direct link. So again, the K2 is activating GLA proteins, directs calcium depositation, and supports vascular and bone integrity. And then the GHKCU focuses on soft tissue repair and extracellular matrix remodeling. So K2 is more directly linked to calcium and proteins in bone integrity, whereas the GHKCU is more soft tissue and matrix remodeling within the soft tissue. So there's no meaningful biochemical overlap with the K2. Other than, again, what we mentioned before, that the K2 supports the D3. So vitamin C directly required for collagen production. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So we said that is required. So collagen formation requires the hydroxylation of proline and lysine amino acids. And vitamin C is a cofactor for those enzymes. So prolyl hydroxylase and lysyl hydroxylase. Without the vitamin C, collagen fibers become weak and unstable, and you get poor wound healing, bleeding gums. And actually, that's what leads to scurvy. Like pirates used to get on ships out in the middle of the sea forever. And no vitamin C, no fruit or anything with vitamin C in it. So,
Also, it causes,
um,
doesn't the scurvy cause like patchy redness and stuff too?
yep. So collagen you could think of as the still framework. Calcium is the concrete. The vitamin C is the builder that constructs the steel. The vitamin D3 regulates the calcium supply, and the K2 directs the calcium to the framework. So that's how that's all working together. So much of it is indirect and not direct, other than the vitamin C being direct with the NAD plus and with the collagen production with the GHKCU.
So it really seems like these, the vitamins, the D3, other than the vitamin C, the K2, the TMG, those are all to set a strong foundation for that new collagen that the GHK is going to be recruiting your body to produce. So you have a
Correct.
nice skeleton to fill in. So you end up with good collagen rather than weak.
Weak collagen.
That's
Yep.
going to, because our collagen breaks down as we get older.
Yep. And weak collagen is going to break down much quicker than strong
Absolutely.
collagen.
Absolutely. So, um,
And then the next bit from last week, the question was about anti-cancer,
mhm.
anti-carcinogenic, or anti-tumor peptides. Are there any peptides that fall into that activity or similar categories? So I was not aware of that at all, but I did a little bit of digging, as well did you. So we can dive into that really quickly. Um, Most of these peptides are sort of very experimental and very on the edge. Most of them are not approved for oncology or um, even adjunct.
Laura, okay, I'll just find. I'll go to Laura in the morning.
What's up?
Took care of it.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, it was Ian was getting some talking from.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, he unmute. Oh, there we go. He just tried to unmute himself.
So, FDA approved anti-cancer peptides. These are legitimate oncology drugs. There are a couple of them. So, LHRH and GnRH analog peptides. So, GnRH is like triptorelin, which is a gonadotropin releasing hormone agonist peptide. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
True.
So these are used in hormone dependent cancers, so like prostate and breast cancer. Examples of these would be luroprolide, or sorry, luprolide, goserelin, and triptorelin, the one I just mentioned earlier. So the mechanism with those is to suppress sex hormone production and starve hormone-driven tumors. So particularly in breast and prostate cancer, that's what those are doing, is suppressing the sex hormone production and starving the tumors that are feeding on those particular sex hormones. And then somatostatin analogs are used for neuroendocrine tumors. So that would be octreotide and lanreotide. And the mechanism of that is binding somatostatin receptors inhibit tumor growth and hormone secretion. So as I was doing this research, because I don't know that much about many different cancers, I haven't personally dealt with cancer, or I've not had any friends that were close to me that really dealt with any cancer. So I've never learned much about any cancers. And it was kind of interesting to me going through this, realizing how much hormone activity is based around tumor growth. Like what I found in this research, and I just found it really interesting. So there are some peptide drug conjugates, meaning drugs that contain peptides as part of the drug, that are used to target chemotherapy directly to tumor cells. So, meaning that the peptide itself is used as a carrier of the chemotherapy into the tumor cell. right, to deliver the death to the tumor cell.
Mhm.
And lutetium, sorry, 177 dotatate is a radio-labeled peptide therapy. Those are very, very highly specialized and rarely used in oncology, but being studied and in rare cases happening. So the other anti-cancer peptides in research are that show anti-tumor activity are the AMPs or antimicrobial peptides,
Mhm.
such as the meganins, the defensins, and like the LL37 derivatives. You and I were talking about the LL37.
Yeah, we were talking about LL37.
Yeah. So why the AMPs selectively disrupt the cancer cell membranes? Because cancer cell membranes have a higher negative charge, and so they're easier to target. And so these target negatively charged cells in the body. So that's why these are used, particularly these antimicrobial peptides in cancer research. And then tumor penetrating peptides, such as IRGD peptide, is also used to improve the delivery of chemotherapy into tumors. It's an immune modulating peptide. It's studied in cancer adjunct therapy, and it's used in some countries as immune support in oncology as well. And then since we were talking about GHK-Cu earlier, there's an interesting nuance. There are some studies that suggest that GHK may normalize gene expression associated with cancer. So it may reduce metastatic gene signaling, and it has antioxidant and DNA repair support properties because it is working at that gene level, at a transcriptional level, right? So, and then talking about NAD in regards to cancer, because this has been about NAD, this discussion. Cancer cells often increase NAD production in the body. Something that happens, they upregulate the NAMPT, cancer cells do, and they rely heavily on metabolic pathways. So boosting NAD plus in active cancer is very controversial and
Mhm.
potentially risky. So I just wanted to throw that out there since we were talking a lot about NAD plus in particular.
So that is definitely a risk factor that we need to consider
Absolutely.
with any of your
Yeah,
experiments.
definitely somebody who's been dealing with cancer. Um, Maybe if the cancer is over and they've been through chemotherapy, it
Mhm.
might be good for cellular support and rebuilding, especially along with your mitochondrial function is usually trashed after something like a chemo treatment. So, as adjunct to mitochondrial peptides to help sort of bring the body back to an energetic state after being severely depleted in many ways from a chemotherapy treatment might be great, but if somebody with active cancer should definitely not be taking NAD plus
Those are good
as a
good
rule.
things to know. It's not always what you take, it's also what you shouldn't take.
Yeah.
So
And then the last question from last week, which I guess we can end on this, unless anybody else has any questions, unless Superman's got something for us.
he might.
So somebody asked if there's peptides studied in relation to endometriosis.
Mhm.
And there are, but most of them are very in the research stage and they're adjunctive rather than established in clinical therapies on their own. The main focus has been hormonal peptide drugs, neuropeptides, and immune modulating peptides, and peptide-based delivery systems for targeted treatments. So very similarly to like the targeted treatments that we were just talking about with cancers, where some certain peptides are used to carry chemo or similar interferon type of drugs into the tumors to destroy the tumors. Wow, can you guys hear that? The neighbors have got their Chinese drumming going on in the background here. They do
Oh, nice.
they do classes at night, so it's going to get really loud here. Hope you guys can't hear that.
We really can.
Okay, well, it's super loud over here. It sounds like they're drumming in my room here, but
Oh, shoot.
so we just spoke about the GnRH analog peptides like triptorelin, some of these things are so hard to say, gonadotropin releasing hormone agonist peptide. So these influence the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis to suppress estrogen production. So in speaking of endometriosis in particular, estrogen feeds endometriotic lesions. And so reducing its levels can shrink lesions and reduce the pain. So these are studied heavily for that. So hormone therapy based on analogs like GnRH agonists and antagonists are used clinically, but not direct endometriosis peptides in the regenerative sense rather than their hormone modulating drugs, and the hormones help suppress other things in the body like estrogen, which helps shrink the lesions, which reduces the pain. So it's sort of like indirectly a cascading effect. So neuropeptides and pain inflammation pathways as well. So small signaling peptides involved in nerve and immune signaling play a role in inflammation and pain associated with endometriosis as well. So understanding those in the future may help guide future peptide-based pain or inflammation therapies. And those would be peptides such as Solanc, Samax, DSIP. I believe that would even include, pain and inflammation modulating therapies such as BPC 157, KPV, and a couple of those other ones. And then the peptides for targeted delivery. There isn't really any peptide having intrinsic therapeutic effect, but rather just using them for delivery like we spoke about before. So targeting the endometriotic tissue. So researchers have used phage display libraries to find peptides that bind specifically to endometriosis cells, potentially for targeted therapy and imaging.
Okay.
So immune modulating peptides like defensins and regulatory peptides that could enhance macrophage and T cell interactions against ectopic endometrial cells, potentially reducing lesion survival and reoccurrence. So that's very preclinical right now, but there's a lot of theory based in that right now. And then macrocyclic peptides targeting pathogenic pathways. So, and in some NIH research recently indicated macrocyclic peptides that inhibit downstream signaling components involved in endometrial migration, invasion, or proliferation could be therapeutic candidates in the future, but nothing has really been studied in any human models, or it sounds like really even any animal models to date. It's all sort of
Injection.
yeah, all of it is sort of like theoretical at this point for endometriosis, other than a couple of them that sort of work downstream, like we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. So those immune modulating peptides. What about like thymosin alpha 1? Would that
Thymosin alpha 1 was definitely mentioned in that as well. And that would definitely fit in that macrophage activating peptide, defensin and macrophage activating. Yeah.
So you were just basically reducing the size, reducing the inflammation of the irritant tissue, promoting healing.
And reducing the pain because of that. Exactly. So again, not directly influencing it, but sort of as like a downstream effect.
But still, when you're dealing with that is extremely helpful. I have a sister who has dealt with that for years. So and some of the ones that she would get quite large and uncomfortable. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So
I hear that.
I mean, thymosin alpha 1 or any of the immune modulating peptides could definitely help her out.
Absolutely.
So
So that's all I got. That's all my notes for today. That was kind of catching us up on all the questions from last week's.
this
I
was a
know
catch-up
next week we have
episode.
talked about doing an episode on possibly like a deep dive into maybe DSIP,
Yep.
delta sleep inducing peptide, and also melanotan 2,
Mhm.
which I'm kind of really excited about. Alba and I were watching a doctor from Texas last night talk about melanotan 2, and it's wildly different than what we thought it was. It's got so many other facets and features going on than you think it does. It's not just a tanning peptide. It's not just a sexual support peptide. It works on many other pathways similar to DSIP. And I'm gonna put together some really cool notes for next week. I think it's gonna be a really exciting episode. And I think people are gonna want to take DSIP and melanotan 2 more often once they hear about all these good things that those two are doing.
Well, the research, because of what you have said about DSIP, I'm surprised about what other downstream things other than I thought DSIP was exactly that. Delta sleep, so I'm like, all right, so it's better deep sleep, better recuperative sleep. That's always good. It's never a bad thing in
I
my
mean,
mind.
it's definitely about regeneration and recovery, and it's working through many multiple different pathways. But the fact that it makes you sleepy is sort of a cascading downstream effect of all of these other awesome things that it does. And I won't go into it right now. I'll put together some really good, concise notes.
Well, and I'm really
For-
interested on the melanotan too. I mean, obviously, I don't need a tan, but if there are some other things that it can do uh, health wise for my body, I'm definitely game.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
that is,
I think you're gonna be surprised at all the things that it brings.
I'm looking forward to that one because that is the one that I don't know nearly as much as I should. I'll be doing some research and I'll be up to date on that, but I'm looking forward to next week. The DSIP, again, I think everyone's going to be surprised on how much of your biological functions can be assisted by DSIP.
Yeah, it's
I was blown.
I will call it nothing short of a master biological regulator at this point.
I mean, it's right up there. I venture to say that it's right up there with the triple agonist that's getting so much hype right now.
Absolutely. So we'll dig into that more next week and be ready for that. Next week's gonna be
Hold
cool.
on, I do have one question. What would you suggest for this situation? Um, double, oh,
Double nephrectomy due to
nephrectomy,
polycystic kidney
no
disease
kidneys.
or peritoneal dialysis, heart failure, polycystic liver disease. Heart failure is the main concern right now. So TB500 is a peptide that is actually studied
Yeah.
in heart surgery actually. Um, Oftentimes when you're actually under the knife and your chest is open and you're on the operating table and you're getting open heart surgery, the doctors will actually put TB500, inject it like right in and around all the muscles around the heart, um, to help regenerate. Off the top of my head, that's the only one, but also knowing that there's no kidneys, so
That's
double nephrectomy, and polycystic liver disease.
those
I'm
are
gonna
all
have to do a
things.
little bit of research on that one, Josh.
Well, those are the cleaners of the body. So the
Yeah,
both of those being compromised,
yeah. And most peptides are most peptides don't have like a risk of, oversaturating or putting extra, let's say, stress on the kidneys or the liver, but some of them do.
mhm.
So let me do a little deep dive into that. I'll get back to you on that one this week, Josh. I think you actually asked me that question in a text, and I apologize. It's been really busy, and I haven't had a chance to answer you. But
I'm noting this question, Josh, as well.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel for this guy.
yeah, that sounds like an unfun situation.
I have a nephew who's on dialysis because of kidneys, obviously. And he's had a kidney transplant. Yeah, but the transplants aren't forever. And the transplant is still functioning, but the function has decreased over the years. So now he's back on dialysis. So if there is something that we find, it also might help him. So I'm really absolutely, hopefully we can find something.
Yeah, I'll dig into that. I think the heart failure is the main concern. He said, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll dig into that. I'll let you know this week, Josh.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. I think that's it for tonight's episode.
I think that's a wrap.
Look, we finished early tonight. We didn't go 20 minutes over.
You know, we're giving people a little bit of a break tonight. We did not go over. We're actually going to be finishing up a little early, not unless anybody has any questions. No?
All right. Tune in next week when we talk about DSIP and melanotan 2.
Yeah, and everyone will get a tan like me.
Sweet.
Take
Peace
it
out.
easy, everybody. Have a great night. We will see you next week. Ciao.